Hello and welcome to Drunk on Tea. Chaos Demons are a great army, being playable in both 40k and Age of Sigmar. This army is very versatile in playstyle and setting, however the army can look very repetitive, with many people choosing to just paint the models in the colours of the god they represent. I'm starting a new series where I paint demons in different styles, hoping to encourage people to mix up the look of the demons on the tabletop. From fire-based demons to water and ice demons, the options are almost unlimited when it comes to colour schemes for these models. I've already painted a Plaguebearer using the John Blanche series to create a different look, and today I'm painting another Plaguebearer in a style that would work well alongside that one to create a unit with some variation. Let me know what other styles of demons you would like to see, and join me as we step into the world of Chaos Demons. The first thing I've done is prime the mini black and applied a Zenithal undershade as I've done to my Darkwater minis. This will allow me to use some speed paints for quick base coats, which I will build on later. First, with Desolate Brown, I'm painting the skin. I'm being careful here around other details like the eye and the mouth, and I'm not applying this paint too thickly. I'm almost glazing the paint over the model. This way it will still work as a speed paint, but really allow the Zenithal undershade to show through, allowing me to get my base coat and shades in a single step. There are a lot of open wounds and exposed muscle on these models, so I'm being careful to not paint over these as I paint the Desolate Brown over the skin. The paint is a dark olive colour, so it has a green tone to it that Plaguebearers are normally painted with, but it also has that slightly dirty yellow tone as well, which will tie this model into the one I painted with the John Blanche set, allowing for these models to be mixed together in a unit, and they'll still work well together and look like they belong together. On the back I'm being careful to avoid painting over the spine, as well as any other details as I glaze over the Desolate Brown all over the skin. I'm fine with painting over the boils, but I do want to make sure I avoid any parts where the skin has peeled away, as well as the spine. With the skin painted, you can see it's given a really dirty green look. Now with Murder Scene, I'm painting some details. In catching the guts hanging from his belly, this paint is a nice dark reddish purple, so it's ideal for painting these kinds of gory details on a model. I'm also painting the tongue, but being careful to not paint over the teeth at this stage. And I'm painting all of the exposed muscle inside the open wounds on the body of this model. I'm being careful here to avoid any overspill, but making sure I catch all of these details with Murder Scene. I'm also catching all of the boils on the skin. Where these have already been painted with the Desolate Brown, the nature speed paints will allow a bit of that layer underneath to show through, giving these areas a slightly different look than the pure Murder Scene I painted on the other areas. This slight colour variation will add some interest to the model, and also give these boils a sore and painful look to them, rather than just a pure gore look of the other areas. With those details painted, this model already has that Nurgle look. Now with Pallid Bone, I'm painting the teeth inside his mouth, and the horn growing out the top of his head, giving this a bone colour. I'm also catching any fingernails and these large toenails. And finally, I'm painting all of the spine with Pallid Bone, so this will look like his actual bones are coming out of his skin. With the bone details painted, there's just one base coat left to apply, and that's with some Grim Black. I'm painting all over the sword. I like giving Plaguebearers black swords, so it looks like they're made from stone like obsidian. Later on I'll add some detailing to this sword to really give it a demonic look, like the kind of weapon that comes from another world. If you're enjoying the video, please press like. If you want more videos, press the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. And if you'd like to support the channel, please become a member by pressing the join button down below, or joining me over on Patreon. With all the base colours applied, it's time to add some detailing to make the mini pop. First, with Avalan Sunset, I'm going to paint the eye. I'm carefully applying some yellow into the eye to add some brightness to the model and give the impression of a bright demonic eye looking out. And then with Abaddon Black, I'm applying a small vertical line in the middle of the eye. This line will give the eye an unnatural appearance, which is perfect for a demon of chaos. With the eye painted, the model really has that demon look. Now with Uruk Flesh, I'm going to highlight the skin. With this, I'm picking out any sharp or raised areas on the skin. There are areas of the ribcage where you can see the bones under the skin, so I'm catching all of these with a slight highlight. I'm also catching the edges of all the open wounds on the model, applying a thin edge highlight of Uruk Flesh. I don't want these highlights to be too stark or too bright, so I'm keeping the lines nice and thin as I pick out all of the details on the skin. These will add some more definition to the skin and help emphasise the details. Applying this extra highlight over the speed paint can really add a lot to a mini and stop the model from having that speed paint look, so it's worth spending a few minutes adding some highlights to any models you've painted with speed or contrast paints. On the arms there are several noticeable details like the muscles and the fingers, so I'm catching any raised edges to these with some Uruk Flesh as well. With the skin highlighted, there are just a few more details left to highlight. With Wild Rider Red, I'm highlighting all of the open wounds on the model. Where there are bits of muscle or other details visible in these areas, I'm applying a few spot highlights of Wild Rider Red. As this is brighter than the murder scene, it will make these areas look like they have fresh blood, as well as being painful, and really add some character to the model. I'm also highlighting any ridges or bumps on the guts with Wild Rider Red as well. With the wounds highlighted, I'm going to highlight the sword next, and I'm using Thousand Suns Blue for this. I'm very carefully catching all of the raised details on the sword, as well as the very edge of the sword with a thin highlight of Thousand Suns Blue. This blue will really give the sword a demonic look, like light is catching off some mineral in the stone glowing blue, or even just the sword itself if it's giving off a blue hue from a demonic power. I'm keeping these highlights small so they don't look blotchy on the sword and make the whole sword look blue. I'm just carefully catching all of the raised details with a thin highlight of Thousand Suns Blue. With the sword highlighted, there's just one final detail left, and that's the horn. With Wraithbone first, I'm painting thin lines going up any detail on the horn. I'm starting about halfway up, leaving some of the pure bone showing at the bottom of the horn. These lines are very small, and it's okay if they all meet up at the top and you get a solid area of Wraithbone. But these lines will really add some texture and give the impression of bone growing in kind of layers. Finally, with White Scar, I'm painting a small line within the one I just painted, starting about 2/3 of the way up. The lines will all meet up at the top again and really give some texture to the horn and make it look like a natural growing thing. Try and keep these lines as small as possible and make sure some of the Wraithbone is still showing around and below the white. With the horn painted, that is how to quickly and easily paint a Plaguebearer in a slightly different style than normal for your Chaos Demons army. Let me know in the comments below what other demons would you like to see me paint, and in what style should I paint them. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and happy painting!